On July 23rd, 1924, at 10 Lime Street, Harry Houdini tried to contact the dead, but little did these famous mediums know that he was a debunker of these famous mediums. He would dress up like them, parade them on national television, and even mock them on the national news. Harry Houdini, debunker of the fraudulent. Harry Houdini was born on March 24th, 1847 in Budapest, Hungary. He was born fourth out of 7 children. Of father Rabbi Meyer Samuel Wise and his wife Cecilia Steiner Wise. In 1876, Eric and his family immigrated to Appleton, Wisconsin with the dream of a better life. His father found work there as a rabbi and decided to change his last name to Weiss. Although life started out very nicely for them, Rabbi Weiss's inability to speak English made life much more difficult for his family. So when Eric turned 8, the family decided to move to Milwaukee in hopes to find better work. There, Eric took on jobs of shining shoes and delivering newspapers to help support the family. School also became an obstacle for them, which led to Eric having to leave after the 3rd grade, and then joining the circus that same year. He made his very first stage appearance as Eric, the Prince of the Air, a trapeze artist. Even though Eric loved performing, he wasn't making enough money to support the family, so when he turned 12, he hopped on a train to find work. Despite his many talents, Eric never seemed to secure a job. He wound up finding himself homeless majority of the time. During this time, Eric even became very homesick and started missing his family very much, especially his dear mother. A year later, Eric wound up back home. Home now being New York City, where his father found work there as a tailor. It's at this point in his life that Eric's love for magic truly blossomed after he read The Memoirs of Robert Houdin, an autobiography about the famous French magician. Eric and his brother Theo began pursuing magic. Eric adopted the name of his hero Houdin and added an I, turning it into Houdini, and his first name was just an Americanized version of his nickname, Airy. They started performing all around New York City in very small events such as carnivals and taverns. During this time period, though, Houdini's mother was his main support.
He was very close with his mom. He was one of 7 children in Budapest, Hungary, who then moved to America when he was 4 years old. And out of all the children, I would say he was the most closely bonded with his mother.
In 1892, his father, Rabbi Wise, had passed away, and on his deathbed, he said to Houdini, "Take good care of your mother."
And when he became famous for his escapes, his illusions, his public persona, he earned a lot of money, and he started lavishing his mother with fancy gifts and invitations to celebrity events, that kind of thing. He treated her like a queen. She was the single most important person in his life.
One night, when he was performing on a stage in Denmark, Cecilia suffered a stroke, which killed her instantly. Later that evening, Houdini received a cablegram telling of his mother's death. He fainted instantly. He canceled all of his future performances and flew all the way back to America to visit his mother one last time. Around this time, after his mother's death, Houdini got back into spiritualism. His fascination started when his 2 parents held a seance to contact his brother Herman. They were unsuccessful, but Houdini was very interested. Houdini wanted to contact his mother, but with his experience with traveling sideshows and carnivals, he had discovered that majority of mediums are frauds. Even with this knowledge, Houdini desperately searched for a medium who could contact his dead mother. But this quest soon led Houdini on a journey to debunk these fraudulent mediums. Around this time, another famous man was following in the footsteps of spiritualism. It was Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the author of the famous book series Sherlock Holmes. He too had lost his son in World War I, and desperately tried to find a medium to contact him. When Houdini and Doyle finally met, Houdini had sent Doyle a copy of his book, The Unmasking of Robert Houdin, which talked about the falsehood of mediums in our society. Although Doyle was still a believer in mediums, he thought this book was a great way to shine light on the good mediums and seed out the bad ones. Doyle managed to catch one of Houdini's stage shows in England, and they became best friends.
So they got along really well. Apart from this one issue, everything else was fine. They were really good friends. Until Jean, who is Conan Doyle's wife, a practicing medium at the time, suggested that she put on a seance to contact Houdini's mom.
Houdini loved this idea of the seance, until afterwards, when he wasn't quite impressed. Not wanting to hurt their feelings, he didn't say much about the seance after. Until a few years later, when he posted something in the New York Sun, saying that he had yet to find any conclusive evidence that mediumship has existed.
Of course, Conan Doyle took huge offense to this because he thought his wife, Jean, was the real deal, and that was the sort of the turning point in their relationship, where Conan Doyle felt kind of betrayed by Houdini in that way.
Houdini wrote about this experience a few years later, in his book, A Magician Among the Spirits. At this point, Houdini was more focused on debunking these mediums, rather than actually contacting his mother. To help spread the word, Houdini began promoting his views at personal appearances and promotions. He would project slides of famous mediums and spiritualists and make fun of their so-called magical abilities. Houdini would even disguise himself to attend these seances. At the end, Houdini would jump up, tear off his disguise, and explain how the fraud was committed. In 1923, Houdini took a short break from magic to travel the world, giving lectures about spiritualism. Around the same time, Houdini joined a group of magicians put together by Scientific American magazine, who offered a reward to any medium who thought that their powers were genuine. They had all set their eyes on world-famous spiritualist Mina Crandon, or Marjorie the Medium. Marjorie was the hardest medium for Houdini ever to debunk. She almost fooled him, although a few years later Houdini studied her work and claimed her to be a fraud as well. 1925, Houdini's new show included the live debunking of spiritualists and mediums. Houdini offered a $10,000 prize for anyone who was able to contact the dead. On the afternoon of October 22, 1926, J. Gordon Whitehead asked Harry if he could indeed withstand any blow to the abdomen. Houdini, of course, saying yes, Whitehead proceeded to hit Houdini 4 times directly in the abdomen, leaving no time for Houdini to brace himself. Later that night, Houdini fainted due to internal wounds during a live stage show. Houdini was rushed to the hospital and passed away 4 days later.
Are you reading somebody right now?
Well, I did feel a couple of things backstage because I was connecting with Spirit backstage.
As you can see, spiritualists and mediums are still around today, but that doesn't mean Harry didn't make a difference.
Well, we still have mediums, and we still have believers, and we still have people that are bereaved and are hoping that they can contact someone that had just passed on. That's never going to go away.
Harry Houdini impacted society in a huge way. He showed us the seedy world of fraudulent mediums.
The mere fact that we're even having this conversation, or this, you're asking me these questions, says that he made a huge change in the world, I think.
And although he may have not changed much, he still stood up against these mediums and showed the world what lying, cheap frauds they really are.
Career from being this escape artist to being this debunker of sorts. He went on a crusade to try to stop all of this, what he thought was, scam artistry. He took a major stand.
Harry Houdini, magician, spiritualist, escape artist, and debunker of the fraud.